Those of you that are joining us on Zoom, we want to just welcome you. Who's coming in, Jen? Who do you see coming in now?
Oh my gosh, we have now 412 devices, 415 signed in. So we've got people from all over, from California, around the world, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the suburbs. We have people coming in from everywhere.
Oh, that's amazing. And they just have to roll out of bed, turn on the computer, and there you are in bunny ears. I mean, what better gift for Easter Sunday could there be but Jen Crow in bunny ears? So amazing. Well, those of you joining on Zoom, there are some tips for you to just have in mind. We suggest that you open your chat box so that you can keep it open during the worship. It's probably on the bottom left of your Zoom screen. And once you do that, let us know you're here by typing in a greeting in the chat box. Make sure you have it set for all panelists and participants. That's who we are, panelists and participants. So everyone can see your chat messages. Participant video and audio are also, just remember this, are automatically disabled for worship. So no need to worry about people seeing you there mushing on chocolate bunnies and such like that and sitting in your bunny onesie, because I'm sure some of you are doing that right now at this very moment, and we say hats off to you. So you can show up any way you want. Now, if you have any trouble with the audio on your computer, you can always mute your computer's sound and dial in on your phone, old school, and listen to the audio while you watch the video on your computer. Now, if you aren't receiving emails from us, let us know. We want to know you. We want to be connected to you, especially during this time when so much is changing every single day. Well, let's get going. Just in case you don't know who I am, my name is Karen Hutt, and I'm your adjunct minister at First Universalist Church of Minneapolis. And I was just thinking, when you look back on the original Latin meaning of the word religion, it's not about worshiping God. It's not about saying a creed. Its original meaning in Latin is to bind back together. And in this season of pagan and Jewish and Christian celebrations, our mission as Unitarian Universalists is to bind back together these traditions in our community and the wisdom that they hold, because we can as Unitarian Universalists. We celebrate the wisdom of all of these traditions that bind us back to the Universalist spirit of love and hope, and we give and receive and we grow together the more we learn from these traditions. We welcome you today because your light and your life matter to us, and your story matters to us. We welcome you today if you can't be brave, but you want to be. We welcome you today even if your compassion is challenged by uncertainty. We want to be there as it grows. We welcome you as you are, warts and frustration and joy and doubt and fear and awe. Because together we bind together, and together we will rise up. We welcome those folks who are new today and joining us, and we invite you to share your name if you've never even come to our physical congregation before and are joining us virtually. We want to know you. Why did you tune in today? What brought you here today? And we're here for you. We are really here for you. We, as a staff and ministers, have been meeting every week trying to figure out new ways to connect you to one another, to connect us to you, and to build communities of mutual aid and caring. So you can also connect today after worship, in coffee hour, and there's also, get this, there's going to be an Easter egg hunt, and they'll be on the slide at the end of the worship. It'll tell you where to go. There are no youth meetings today, including the BIPOC multiracial group. The kids will all be in a candy coma anyway, so why bother having a meeting? There are a lot of opportunities throughout the week in worship on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we ask you to check out the website and the Liberal, which is our email newsletter. Now, I also want to invite you at the end of worship today, you'll see a link that'll go, you could put in your browser. I'm probably using the wrong language, but there'll be a link for you to take a survey right after worship about how we're doing and what you'd like to see. If there are things we're missing, we want to know what you're thinking of this new virtual worship program and also what you think about our needs during this crisis in our country, in our souls, and in our hearts. So we invite you now to settle in and maybe find your chalice if you have one or a candle. And we're going to introduce our chalice lighters who are going to be joining us in just a moment. But I want you to also know that our families are really kicking in by making sure these programs are available. So I want to thank Luna and Knut for doing the chalice lighting and reading today. Thank you.
Please join me for the words of the lighting of the chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Hello, everyone. I'm Reverend Ruth. I'm one of the ministers here at First Universalist Church, and it is so good to be with all of you today. I have been missing children. I've been missing our youth. And I just love when I see you guys running down the hallway, trying to get some to your classrooms, or sitting in the social hall eating your egg rolls, or I don't know, getting a quick hug before you go dashing off with your parents to whatever's next. I've been missing you all so much. And I said, oh, Lauren, I've been missing those kids so much. Is there any way I can do the story today? And Lauren, being the gracious person that she is, said, of course, Ruth, do the story. Oh, so here I am today. I'm going to be telling you the wisdom story, and it is a story of hardship and hope. This is a time of year when we're telling stories like that all the time. Our Christian cousins are telling stories of hardship and hope when they tell the Easter story of Jesus's death and resurrection. Our Jewish cousins are telling their story of hardship and hope as they are telling the story of Passover, of making it through the narrow place and coming to a place of promise. So this is another story of hardship and hope. Ouch! Oh, excuse me, hey, what are you? Just a minute, somebody is nibbling on my ankle. Stop that. I'm gonna give to you in just a second. Oh, here's my friend. Oh, hi. This is Chester, the raccoon. He has been wanting to tell his story of hardship and hope. And so I invited him to come in today and help me tell the story. Are you ready, Chester? Great. Well, here it is, my friends. So let's just say Chester was not too excited to go to school on his first day. He just did not want to go. He wanted to play with his own toys. He wanted to play with his old friends and swing on his own swing. And so he begged his mom, please, Mom, please, let me stay home. I don't want to go to school. His mom said, oh, Chester, sometimes we have to do hard and scary things, and it isn't easy. But sometimes when we begin, we actually realize we can do it. And I know that you can do this hard thing, and I know how to help you. How? Chester said. Well, I've been told a secret by my mother, and her mother told her the same secret, and it helps you through the hard and scary times and makes you feel warm and cozy all the time. What's the secret? So she took Chester's hand, spread his little paws, and kissed him right in the middle of his palm. Oh, those warm and fuzzy feelings just went up his fingers and up his arms and into his neck and up to his face and up to even his little ears. Oh, he was feeling so warm and cozy. And he said, what just happened? And his mother said, it's the kissing hand. I've given you a kissing hand. And whenever you're feeling scared or lonely, just put that kissing hand on your face and you will feel my love. And as you do, say to yourself, Mommy loves you. Oh, that just felt so good to Chester. He loved his kissing hand, and he knew then that wherever he went, whatever hard thing he had to do, he could hold his kissing hand next to his cheek and feel his mother's love. So that night, when he was about to go to school, that's when raccoons go to school, at night. That night, he was looking at his school, and then he turned to his mother and said, Mom, give me your hand. And he kissed her right on the middle of her palm, and she had a kissing hand too. Now, Chester said, we both have kissing hands, and we can put them next to our face and know that we love each other. And he skipped away to school. Oh, his mother watched him go through the fields, laughing and singing, and she placed her hand on her cheek and said, Chester loves you. Chester loves you. I love you. Friends, we have been doing some very hard things of late. It's been hard. There's a lot of big feelings that we have. Some of us are wondering if we're ever going to get to see our friends again. We love our grown-ups, we love our siblings, but you know, this is hard. This isn't easy what we're doing right now. And I'm just wondering if we could all practice kissing the kissing hand. So maybe you could ask one of your grown-ups at your house to give you a kiss on the palm of your hand, so that whenever you're having some of those big feelings, those angry feelings, those lonely feelings, those missing the way things used to be kind of feelings, you could place your hand next to your cheek and know that you are loved. And maybe you could ask one of your grown-ups or your siblings for them to give you their hand, and you could kiss them right in the middle of the palm and place it, and they could put it on their cheek so that they know that they are loved. In fact, I think we should practice the kissing hand all together right now. What do you say? Everybody, take your hand, kiss yourself right in the middle of the palm. Now put it next to your cheek. And know that this community of faith, First Universalist Church, loves you. We love you. Feel that love as you go out into the week. Friends, I've been missing one other thing a lot these days, and that is hearing our choir. I love hearing our choir, and I've been missing it so much, hearing them sing every other week. And guess what? We finally figured out how to listen to our choir again. Yay! So what we did was we took a recording from several months ago called Oh Light. And this is a recording that our choir did. And then we put it together with different photos of the choir over the past few years. So you will see old and new members of the choir as we listen to this beautiful song, Oh Light, conducted by our beloved choir director, Randy Bykema. Friends, let's listen.
Light, Good morning. I'm Lauren Wyeth, your Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministries, and I'm here at Powderhorn Park this morning to lead us in a meditation that uses our bodies. You might want to find a spot where you can stretch out a little bit. If your body feels like it and is able, you might want to stand. And I'm going to teach us the steps of this meditation, and then we'll go through it together a few times. It starts with our arms extended and a deep breath in. As we breathe out, we bring our hands to our chest. And then in again, we reach our hands up to the sky. As we breathe out, we bow down toward the earth. And we rise up as we take a nice big deep breath in. And we end by rolling our shoulders back with a breath out. Here we go. Last one, in. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. It is so good to be in our bodies right now. I love that invitation to come into our bodies, come into our breath. And I love that you were able to record that when the weather was nicer than it is this morning. Thank you. It is so good to be in our bodies right now, to remember and to feel the energy of life flowing through us. So let's keep moving with that invitation to be in our senses as we continue into prayer, as we continue into the cycle of life that moves for us all. I invite you to put down what you're holding, particularly if that's your computer or tablet or coffee cup. Just let it rest next to you. This part of our prayer is really an inward journey, a time of listening with the ears of our heart, of seeing with the eyes of our heart. I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable, or just let your gaze be soft. It was so good to hear the choir, to see the choir. As my heart turned to prayer this week, friends, I kept thinking about what our Sundays were like when we were all together. And so I invite you to join me in a prayer of memory. Spirit of life, Spirit of love, take us back. Help us to remember. Take us back to the sanctuary 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Help us to feel that feeling of the pew against our back. May we remember the noises of bodies in space together, the feeling of being surrounded by the congregation, of knowing that we are together. We hear the ministers speak, but we don't maybe fully hear their words. Our awareness is more in our bodies, in our hearts. Our spirits align with the deeper, older rhythms of humans lifting our hearts in prayer. Not to someone, not for something, but the simple act of opening to all that is, to opening our hearts, to saying that I am not in charge, but I am here to commit myself. I am here to remind myself that I serve a larger truth, a larger vision, a larger love of who we could be, how we could be together. Our prayer asks nothing more from us than what we are, nothing more from us than what we have to give. May we rest in a space of trust, trust that when we each surrender, when we each give who we are and what we have, that together we have all that we need to make real what we long for in our hearts, and that when we hold together, we have all that we need right here. There is so much that we are holding in our hearts this morning. And if you are moved, I invite you to type in the chat the sorrows that you are carrying with you this morning that you would like to surround in the care of this community, those things that are weighing on your heart that you would like us to carry with you. So much that we're carrying. So much that we're carrying. So many people we're missing. And to these concerns that have been shared, that are being shared, I add that this morning we light a candle in the memory of Thomas Godlewski. We light a candle for Rex Gaskill. We light a candle in memory of Jacques Yeager. We light a candle in memory of Tom Engel. We light a candle in memory of David Engel. May their light and their life shine on in us all. Dear ones, these are times of mourning, these are times of endurance, and these are times of surprising grace, that which breaks through and transforms our lives with hope and with meaning. And so I invite you to share your joys, your surprises, those things that keep you going in the chat. It moves me to see how quickly the grace, the joy flows. The joy that it's Easter. And to the joys that continue flowing. And friends, as our love ripples out to ourselves, to those near us, to those in our neighborhood, in our city, in our state, and all around the world. May the grip of addiction be loosened. May the weight of oppression be lightened. May grief be shared. May joy break through. And may love make every suffering bearable for us all. May it be so, and amen.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Oh, my heart is so full this morning, so full. From getting to see all the faces and hear the voices of people that I love so dearly, from being transported back with the choir, and to seeing Pam Vincent, our departed member, to remember that love stays on even when we cannot be physically present with one another. My heart is so, so full today. And I'm so glad that we practice this service on Saturdays, because otherwise I'd just be a crying mess right now. Oh, my heart is full and my heart is breaking and my heart is full of joy all at once to be together in this way. So friends, it is Easter Sunday, which for some of us is a complicated day. And at its most basic though, Easter is about celebrating the life and the teachings of Jesus, who was a prophet and a truth teller. And that to me doesn't seem all that complicated at all. You see, Jesus preached a message of universal love. And this message of universal love is familiar to us. And on this week, as the story goes, many years ago, he was betrayed and tortured and killed because his message of love and inclusion was becoming so dangerous to the people in power. Now, as the story goes, Jesus' body was laid in a tomb, and when a loved one came to find him and see his body 3 days later, his body was gone. Those folks, many of them, believe that this is the story of the resurrection, that Jesus's body was in fact taken up to heaven to be with God so that he might live again. Now, I have an illustration of this from our beloved Sandy Donani. Now, if you remember her, you know Easter was kind of her thing. So let me show you what she made for me one year. This is Jesus, and here are the clouds symbolizing heaven, right here. So what you do to practice the resurrection is Jesus heads up into the clouds. I, for one, really need a lot of tangible, physical ways to imagine things, right? And when I look at this image, right, of a loved one, a beloved prophet, even heading to a place where we cannot see, I am so grateful for the Easter message that I understand at its heart, which is that love continues after death, that love continues when we cannot see each other or be with one another, just like it did for Chester in the story this morning. Now, when my daughter was little, she did not like going to preschool or really even kindergarten, to tell the truth. And when I would try to leave her at preschool, she would cling onto me and cry and try to get me to stay and read one more story or try to get me to not walk her in at all. And this went on for a lot of days. And finally, we came up with an idea, thanks to this book, The Kissing Hand, right? So what we would do is we would get to the preschool, and instead of lingering at the door, we would rush right in, and we would head to the big bin of magic markers. And we would look for the permanent ones, if we could find it, so that it would last all day. And people at church can attest to the truth of this, because they saw this. So we'd go get our big magic markers, and first I would draw on her hand, the heart, and color it all the way in so that it would stay all day through all the hand washings. And then she would take the marker and she would do it on my hand. And I would often have this blob of whatever color of the day, sort of in the shape of a heart, on my hand for the rest of the day. And this was how we would remember. We'd use a physical sign to remember that we were with one another, that our love continued even when we couldn't see each other. Now, she's gotten a little bit older, and so we do it a little differently now. In the morning, we have a dish of rocks. And if we are worried about it being a hard day, we'll go to the dish of rocks, and she'll pick one out for herself. And then I or she will pick one out for me. And before she leaves for the day, we'll clink them together, because that's just fun. And then we'll each put one in our pocket so we can carry it with us through the day. Now, in this time when really not many people are seeing us, I personally say go back to the heart. There's nothing to be embarrassed of now or ever. But if rocks are more your thing, that's pretty good too. So this is the truth, right? That we are connected even when we are physically apart. Whether that's through death or through distance, our love continues on no matter what. Now, the truth is that people have struggled to remember this for all time. That's why this core for me of the Easter message of, yes, Jesus is dead and gone, but that Jesus is still with us in our hearts, and that it's up to us to embody his love and his message in our lives. This has been coming up year after year for the last 2,000 plus years. This struggle of ours is not new, to remember that the love continues even when we are not physically present with one another. So this is a deep truth. And this is a time for us to live in the truth as much as we're able. Now, I really believe that this time of pandemic is clarifying a whole lot of truths for us. And this is what happens whenever there's a crisis, whenever there's a big shock to the system. If this has happened to you, maybe through the death of a loved one or a sudden diagnosis, or maybe it's love entered your life when you didn't expect it, things get really clear all of a sudden. It gets clear that money isn't what matters. It gets clear that time with the people that we love, that clinging to our values is what really matters. So in these times of big upset, whether it's joy or pain, things get really, really clear, and we learn to see the truth again. So in this time of pandemic, there are some truths that we are seeing very, very clearly. So truth number one, we are all connected. Wherever we are in the world, past, present, future, we are all connected. We are human, and part of being human is being vulnerable. Vulnerability is part of the human condition, and this is true for us right now, just as it's been true for all people in all time. Now, maybe you have heard this other truth before. It goes like this: when the country gets a cold, Black people get the flu. The truth I am seeing right now is that when the country gets COVID, Latinx and Black people die at alarming and disparate rates. This is the truth of this moment. It is a hard truth to know and to live in, to know that the disparities in access to healthcare, in access to information and housing and food and a work life that allows for greater health, these disparities have been true since the beginning of our country, and they continue to be true right now. Another truth I wish wasn't true is that there are some people in our country who believe that other people are expendable. We know this isn't really true. No one is expendable. But the truth is, the way that our country works is like this right now. So these are the truths that I am seeing so clearly in this time of pandemic. And I think it's important to put them right next to the truths that Jesus taught, especially today. Jesus taught that each and every person is whole and holy and worthy, that there are no expendable people, there never have been, there never will be, that even if you are deemed less than by society or by the people that are in power, even if you are a woman, an immigrant, if you are Black or brown, if you are sick, if you are old, if you are young, if you have made mistakes, if you are poor, you have always been and always will be whole and holy and worthy. No exceptions. No one is expendable. Jesus taught too that a society that is built on the exploitation of the many for the benefit of the few, it needs to be turned on its head. Tables need to be flipped over in the temple, tax collectors sent streaming out into the streets, and the wealth needs to be redistributed. That wealth needs to be recreated, because when everyone shares what they have, then all of us can have enough. That is what Jesus taught. Jesus also taught the center, for me, of the Easter message. The message that even in death, even when we cannot be with or see the ones that we love, our love for each other remains. Even if they've gone up into the cloud of the Dixie cup, or wherever it is we believe they have gone. Even if our loved ones live across the world, even if they inhabited a time we never knew, their love lives on in us. So Jesus, like all the prophets, was a truth teller. He told the truth about our interconnection and our vulnerability and about our value. He told the truth that everyone is whole and holy and worthy in all of their and our beautiful kaleidoscopic beauty. He said that everyone, all identities were welcome, all of us contributing to the grand mosaic of life. He taught that an economic system that takes from the many and gives to the few has to be destroyed and upended. He said, and he lived, that the people who've been pushed to the margins need to be seen and cared for first. He taught that even in death, the love of those around us lives on in us. These are the truths that not only Jesus taught, but truthfully, all of the prophets have taught year after year, generation after generation. They have told this truth, and the people in power have then tried to silence them. This is the pattern. Now, our work as a people of faith and as Universalists in particular is to tell the truth and then do our best to live like it. Now, the good news is we have a lot of practice at this. We are, in fact, really good at telling the truth with each other. We have practiced doing this about sex and sexuality in our bodies. We have practiced telling the truth about race and racism and white supremacy culture. We have practiced talking about death and vulnerability and life and about the need for radical sharing with one another. We know how to tell the truth and live into it. So this week that contains so many holidays, but in particular, we're talking about Easter today. This week, what would it look like for you and for me to live into the truth that every single person is whole and holy and worthy, no exceptions. What would it look like if we trusted that when we share what we have, when we let people know what we need, then we all have enough? What would it look like if we said no to this economic system that ravages our land and our lives? How can we remember the truth that love continues to connect us wherever we are, that love always holds us? Now, these are the questions I've been thinking a lot about lately. And on a very practical level, I've been wondering what it means to live into the truth of our interconnection and the disproportionately negative impact of our economic system on the people who have been pushed to the margins, and what this means in terms of what I need to do in my own life. Now, I'm thinking about this a lot for many reasons. One is that I know that for me, this stimulus money that the government has been talking about will likely arrive in my mailbox or my bank account this week. So I need to know what I'm going to do with that money. And some of you know that my daughter asked me a really good question this week. She asked me, why is it that a virus that spreads through talking or coughing, why with this kind of virus that's spread by something that you do with your mouth and in the air, why are people running out of toilet paper? This makes no sense to a child and really to all of us, right? So I did my best to explain this conundrum to her, and I talked about fear. I talked about how when people get scared, they often try to gather up the things that make them feel secure, the things that they feel like they need. And sometimes when they're scared and they're gathering up the things that they feel like they need in order to be safe, they take a lot of it, and they take more than what they need. In fact, they gather up so much that other people don't get any of what they need. Now, I also explained that it's usually the people who have more resources to begin with, more time and money and access to the stuff that everybody needs, that are able to go first and grab all the toilet paper, so that then the people who had less to start with have even less after this time of fear and panic, and the people who had more to begin with have even more. So the disparities are even greater. I think that's what's happening now around money and resources beyond toilet paper. So I've been thinking a lot about what I and my family are called to do with this stimulus money that is coming to us. I know for many people in our community, these stimulus checks are going to be a welcome temporary lifeline in these difficult economic times. And I know that for others, like me and my family, we have 2 adults that are employed and likely will continue to be employed. We have stability and economic resources right now. So keeping this money to ourselves when other people don't have enough would be like going to the grocery store and grabbing all the toilet paper and keeping it just for us. We have to let it go. We have to let this money go. And I'm talking about me and my family and our particular circumstances, even when we're scared, even when we want to be sure we have enough and will have enough to get by, to really trust that when we share with one another, that there'll be enough for everyone. Now, the reality for me is I'm going to have to take a lot of deep breaths when we finally do this, when I let that money pass through us off to other places that need it more. I'm going to have to say, yep, I'm not going to make an extra payment on my student loan. I'm not going to use this money to pay down the other debts that we have. I'm going to share it with the world. And our family, we're going to take that money and we're going to split it, half to the church to help us continue to connect with each other and stay grounded and care in these difficult times. And then the other half directly into the minister's emergency fund, so that that money can get directed to the people who are struggling the most in our church and in our community. We're going to take that money that we have and we're going to redistribute it to where it is most needed. It's one way for us, kind of like drawing this heart on my hand, that we can say, yes, we're living in the truth. Yes, we're living in the truth that love continues wherever we are, the truth that we have enough when we share, the truth that says when people ask for what they need, they will receive it because we have enough to share. I want to live in the truth. I want to live in this truth with all of you. So I ask you to think hard today and this week about what it means for you to live into the truth that everyone is whole and holy and worthy, that all of us matter, and that those who need it most should have access to the resources that they need to survive. I invite you, if you are in need of those resources, to ask for them. They are here for you. And if you have extra to share, I invite you to give them so that we can all have what we need, so that we can live into the love that will not let us go. May it be so. Amen. So this morning, as we always do, we will take up an offering, an opportunity for us to share what we have, if we have resources to share, with folks in our community who need them. This morning's offering will be a 50-50 split between the church and its operating budget, so we can continue to connect with one another. And then the other 50% will go to the minister's emergency fund. And as I've said before, this emergency fund helps to pay for basic needs of folks within our congregation and in our larger community. Things like housing, access to healthcare, the money that we need just to get by. So I want to remind you, you can give in many ways. You can text to give, as you see there up on your screen. You can use your Square Cash app, if that is familiar to you. You can go to our website and donate there. And you know what? You can also do it the old school, old fashioned way and send us a check. Checks are always welcome too. So I invite you to take some time to make these offerings. And also I remind you again, if you yourself are in need of financial support, please let us know. It is here to help. So now as we make our gifts, we'll also get to hear Reverend Ruth and Franco and their beautiful rendition of Ruth's piece, We Arise.
We arise today from the strength of heaven. We arise today from the firmness of the earth. We arise today from the splendor of fire. We arise today from the deep of the sea, from the warmth of sunlight, from the radiance of the moon, from the quick of lightning. We arise. We arise today from the strength of heaven. We arise today from the firmness of the earth.
We arise today and every day. We are gifted with this beauty of life, full of joy and sorrow, and we arise, as we will continue to do, day after day. So friends, I want to remind you that we are here for you in this time. If you need to talk to any of us here on staff, clergy, staff, directors, all of us, we are here. We want to hear from you. You can email us. We can arrange times for Zoom or FaceTime. We can connect. You matter to us and we want to connect with you. If there is something you need, please let us know. We are a community that cares for each other and we are here for one another. And throughout the week, there are opportunities to continue to connect with each other. Wednesday night worship, smaller groups for children, families, adults. So many of us have these opportunities to gather and connect with one another and stay grounded. I invite you to check out our website, our weekly email newsletter, The Liberal, as ways to find out about those opportunities and connect. You'll be hearing more from us this week about our annual giving campaign and the opportunity to make your gift for the upcoming church year that begins on July 1st. I'll remind us that the primary source of income for our congregation is your annual gifts. And we need to know what you intend to give, what you hope to give in the year ahead that begins on July 1, so that we can create our budget for the church year. So your gifts are welcome. Please email them in directly to any staff member, but in particular to chelsea@firstuniv.org. So friends, it is good to be together. And I invite you to hold out your hands for our closing words, to know yourself connected in this community of care. Our love reaches out to you. Our love is with you. And when you forget, or it feels a little shaky, just remember all you need to do is kiss your hand, clean, of course, and then hold it to your cheek. And I hope you can hear all of us saying to you, we love you. We love you. May it be so. Amen. We'll close in our usual way by singing together. Go now in peace.